The Hartley Show is an entertainment program and does not own any of the copyrighted material featured in this episode. All copyrighted material featured will be used as fair use for the purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, and/or researching. Taki.
Today on The Hartley Show, I'm going to be talking to one of the stars of the Flash pilot. Oh, come on.
What? I was in it. I played paramedic number 2. I'm the one who said he got hit by lightning.
What the hell happened to him? He was hit by lightning.
How's he still alive?
Oh, this is bullshit.
Trevor.
It's Troy!
I'm sitting here with the man who plays one of the most classic Flash villains, the Weather Wizard, Chad Rook.
Hey guys. You alright? I've been thinking too small. It's time to think big.
Well, first off, giant thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate it, brother.
Really appreciate having you.
So this Flash thing, I'm guessing it probably had an impact on you, the amount of fan fervor that came along with this. Yeah. And I'm kind of bringing up a whole bunch of stuff here in one statement, but was there an impact? And as well, did you have a past history? Is it anything of a nerd? Were you into comics, The Flash and all?
Yeah, I mean, in both aspects. I mean, I was raised with comic books, right? And so I was always a Batman guy. But when I got the role, I really had to start reading Flash and stuff because I honestly had no clue who I was reading for at the time. I mean, I knew Flash and a little bit about him, but I didn't really understand the full amount of how big this character really was. I didn't know he had his own city and his own rogues gallery and all that. So yeah, it was pretty. When I realized how big it was and how big of a role, you know, playing the Weather Wizard actually was. Yeah, it kind of hit home where, you know, I'm now playing a character, you know, equivalent to what I was raised on. And and literally when CW announced the casting, it really did kind of change overnight. I mean, that week I was already booked for, you know, I think 4 or 5 comic conventions, and even it was funny because even, you know, a year ago I was paying, you know, I paid to go to Calgary to meet up with the Walking Dead guys, you know, to get their autographs.
You paid.
Yeah, I paid, you know, I was going there, and then about a month ago, I'm hanging out with them in the green room in Austin, so it's kind of weird how it changes.
I kind of think you'd never have to pay for another comic convention again.
No,
Something tells me.
Something tells me that, you know, I'm free with that bill on my list.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so what has the fan reaction side been like?
Well, again, now that I get to go to these conventions, you really get to see in person how, you know, excited fans are and what they've done. Social media just kind of blew up for me. You know, Twitter and Facebook seems like a full-time job for me now. You know, and I do these things, you know, called Flash Friday contests, and you know, where we give fans, you know, different prizes and stuff. And again, it's just the reaction you get in person. You know, when you get people coming up to you, wanting autographs and stuff, is just surreal to me. It's kind of a weird thing when, just like I said, a year ago, I have to go, I was on that other side of the table. It's kind of cool.
So this Flash Friday thing you're talking about, that's on the side of the CW?
Yeah, it's basically just my Twitter, and I hold competitions for, you know, every episode and stuff, and usually on Fridays, and just basically give away merchandise that you probably can't get at a store like this and stuff. You know, something that's a little limited for the fans. So.
Classically, the Weather Wizard had a different name. In the TV show, you basically play the brother of who is traditionally thought of as the Weather Wizard.
Right. Yeah, there's always been the Martin brothers in regards to weather. There's Clyde Martin and there's Mark Martin, and in the comic books, Clyde Martin, who I portray in the pilot episode, has about a half a page in all of comic book history. So I really kind of had a clean slate with that character, which is nice. I didn't have any bar to meet. I didn't have any character background or anything to meet up to. And yeah, fans were really kind of, a lot of fans weren't too happy that, you know, Clyde Martin was the first portrayal, but they do mention the Martin brothers and thing, and there's a lot of show left for the Flash.
Now, it's a massive I mean, the Flash is my end-all, be-all. The first comic I ever collected was the Flash, and has always been my favorite secret identity. I was perfectly cool with their take on the Weather Wizard. Right. I was especially happy that they didn't give you the wand.
Well, there's a mix between the old 52 and the new 52 versions. Obviously, the new 52 versions, they get rid of all the the cold gun for Captain Cold and all that. Yeah. But if you watch the series, and now that they've introduced Captain Cold, I think they're doing a mix of two, so they're always going to keep fans guessing as to which version they're going to give.
Right, right.
Clyde Martin, who I portray, obviously didn't have the wand, so it was more the new 52. But then Captain Cold has the cold gun. So, Jeff Johns and Andrew Kreisberg and Greg Berlanti, who are writing it, I mean, they're 10 steps ahead of the people who are 5 steps ahead of us.
Right, right, right.
And so they know what they're doing, and being fans themselves, I think we're in pretty good hands as to what aspects and versions of those characters we're going to get.
And you said you were more of a Batman fan growing up, huh?
Yeah. I was the villains, though. I'm a huge Joker guy. That's always who I turn to in regards to. I think it's different because a lot of the villains in the comic book world are they're bad because they're bad.
Right.
Whereas the Joker, it's more the internal, the sinister. I'm going to do it just because I actually love being bad, right?
Yeah.
So and that was always the cool concept of that character that drew me to that franchise, really.
Right. And this might be an obvious question, but who's your favorite Joker actor?
Well, Heath Ledger. Actually.
Right.
Yeah, that's. I think he really kind of got rid of the goofiness of that character and brought the more darker side. And I think for that character, I know a lot of people don't like the way the comic book world and the TV series are always going dark since the Chris Nolan series and that. But I think for a character like that, that's one character that I think goes above the bar when it is given that darker aspect to it.
So let me ask you a little bit about your past as an actor, where you got started, influences maybe?
Yeah, basically did the whole high school drama thing, and then where I was raised, there was no acting industry. It was Alberta, southern Alberta, so I actually got into modeling, and I moved to Tampa Bay, Florida, and then saved up money there. I always wanted to get into acting, but there was no avenue, but modeling was in the entertainment industry, so I thought it was a good doorway in, and it was. It allowed me to raise enough money to move to Vancouver, where I just basically got an agent and started right away. I started doing a lot of sketch comedy, and we were in a troupe, a couple of troupes actually. I started with a group called the Class Holes,
right?
And then I started my own show called Fine Line, and then right from there, that's where I got into the production side of things, where directing and writing, and that's what I still do now.
Right.
And basically, when you're starting out, acting doesn't always go as you plan, so you have to kind of make your own way and write your own things and start producing and directing your own stuff. And so I got into both aspects of it, and you learn a lot, from doing both sides, and acting was always my first passion, and 14 years later, it's finally full time, right? It's finally, now I can call myself an actor, right? And no more 9 to 5 customer service, right? Yeah.
Quite a world of difference going from comedy to dark, serious characters, yeah?
Yeah, well, I think in a way, yes, but in the same time, those are kind of the two genres that you really need to go outside of the box of playing a normal person, right? So I think any other genre is actually the easy genre to play because it's doing this, where you're playing normally a normal person, whereas comedy and horror or thriller, where you're playing those crazy characters, that's when you really have to create an actual character and sell it. Comedy's a little bit different. You need that timing, and you need that aspect of how I'm going to sell this joke, whereas playing a villain and stuff like that, it's more internal, where it's just like, how am I going to sell this visually? So,
any preference?
Playing the villain is that. I don't know if I would call it a preference. That's why I'm doing my comedy feature myself, is because that's where my roots were. I used to do stand-up comedy, I did sketch comedy, so that's what I was always raised with and loving, but I was also raised with horror films, so it's really tight-knit between the two.
Can you tell us anything about this thing you're working on right now?
Yeah, it's the perfect pickup. It's a comedy about 4 guys who try to find the perfect way to pick up women, and they're failing in the dating world. And
sounds like guys.
Yeah, so there's all these aspects of the types of guys out there, the jocks, the rich guys, the nerds, the whatever it may be, and what women are drawn to more. And these guys set out to find what the actual perfect combination is, and it's pretty funny as to how easy it is to fail compared to how easy it is to succeed in it. So.
And you're, sorry, producing, directing?
I wrote it and am directing it and acting in it as well. So it'll be the first feature film that I do all that, aside from when I did it in sketch comedy. So.
Any planned release date yet, or is that too far in the future?
We actually start filming summer of next year. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a summer film. So.
So I need to ask, and of course, let me just throw this out there, as I sort of already have. I'm such a huge fan of The Flash. I'm hoping that your answer is going to be this giant accolade roses statement. What's it been like to work on The Flash, man?
You know, you have so many characters that you play throughout the years and stuff, and being a comic book fan, usually, you know, normally when you get a role, you always think a little less because, you know, they say, oh, you're the weather wizard. And so I was going on set thinking, cool, I get to make it rain. And then usually they're like, no, you don't even get to do that. But on Flash was different. They're like, no, we're going to have you walk in the middle of an F5 tornado. And I was like, come again, you know? So it was cool that, you know, they're going above and beyond. And I mean, to play a supervillain with superpowers and all that, I mean, and now that I'm caught up with the comic books and stuff, it's surreal to actually play a character for the first time, to portray it and set the bar for villains throughout the whole show. And now you look at, they have names like Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell and Robert Knepper, everyone, yeah, exactly, playing all these other rogues down the line, and it's cool that they're taking a character that I've created and, you know, they've watched it and they've seen it and then they're like, okay, now let's do that, you know, level of intelligence in regards to the character. And I mean, it's kind of a throwback to me that even, you know, people like Dominic Purcell is attached, because 14 years ago when I started acting, he was actually the first on-screen camera actor that I ever worked with on a show called John Doe, and I just remember it was a one line. I was asking him how fast lightning was, and it was literally, that's how fast I was on camera, and now I'm getting a tattoo that says how fast is lightning, and it's a little throwback to how fast things can change.
Yeah,
You know?
what an interesting little lightning.
Right. It's kind of weird.
Oh, it's even more full
full
circle.
circle,
full
right?
circle.
Exactly.
Wild. Now, you mentioned Jeff Johns and guys like that. I have a little bit of experience with Jeff Johns. I used to model for a comic book artist in town, and a comic book he used to write. Jeff, to me, has always been the nicest guy going.
Yeah.
I assume much the same to you. Right?
Yeah, well, he's even reached out to me in social media and stuff in regards to the pilot and how well, you know, I did with the character, which was really nice coming from those guys. You know, that's a big say, because those guys they make that franchise, right?
Yeah.
And he's probably one of the best DC writers. I mean, he really brought that character back to life. It's really comfortable, and to have someone that has that much of a grasp on the character doing the show. So yeah, amazing guy.
My producers are telling me to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Chad talks to me.
So, a big, huge thanks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
brother.
no, thank you guys.
And
I really appreciate it.
Much success to you in the future. Does that make sense? Was that a sensible
Much
statement?
success.
I'm nerding out a little bit here. I'm sitting next to the freaking weather wizard, man. Come on. But thanks again. I really
No,
appreciate
seriously, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks.
I'm sitting here with one of the stars of the Flash pilot,
Chad Rook.
Chad Rook.
I'm enjoying myself on the Humphrey show.
I guess I already said hi and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm sitting here with the man who plays. Oh, I did it again.
All right.
Take 4.
Wow. I can do this. I believe in me.